Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by a highly respected trainer, Joe Gallagher. First time we've caught up in a while, although I did catch up a couple of days ago with your interview you did for IFL with Andy. Really good interview, I thought, actually. I hate giving credit to competitors, but it was very, very good. And I guess the first thing I want to ask you, there was a lot of frustration apparent in the interview, understandably so. And you've got these fighters in the gym, you're having to keep them focused and keep them motivated. How do you do that? How do you manage that when you're quite frustrated yourself, and rightly so?
I think going back to that interview, I just think Andy caught me at a time, as I tried explaining to Adam Smith this week when I spoke to him. It's like I've got 5, 6, stroke 7 little pressure cookers in the gymnasium where I just feel the tops are going to blow on them all of a sudden, and you try to manage them and keep them enthusiastic, keep the work ethic in, keep them in the gym, keep them training. You see on social media the stuff Callum Johnson's been doing all during lockdown, flipping tyres for 4 hours, doing cycle rides with Olympians, and in the gym training. Natasha, Jonas, obviously she was part of fight camp. There's a number of things. There was a couple of things in the interview as well I possibly shouldn't have said that was wrong. I think I touched on a racial element. I don't think that was the word I'd used at the time. As you know, Danny, we're not media trained, and sometimes in the heat of the moment you say things. So I don't think racial was the terminology. I think it was more equality was what I was after, equality in pay for the likes of Natasha, Jonas and Callum Johnson compared to other fighters out there that are in lesser fights but on more money. It's been a cycle in the gymnasium of the last 5-7 years where a lot of the fighters were single, and I could say that they were fighting all fronts, and they've grown into young men, adults, family men, have got children, mortgages now, and comes with it a pressure to provide for the family and the children. And Callum Johnson isn't getting no younger, neither is Liam Smith, neither is Natasha, Paul Butler, so Stephen Smith. So they all want to be out and fighting. And when they come into the gym on a Monday and go, "Oh, did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that?" And it's just frustration. And I say to him, "Have you got a date yet? Have you got a date yet?" No. Eddie said he'd call me. Thing is this, that's that. And I think the thing that brought the camel's back when somebody said to Natasha Jonas when she didn't take a fight that was offered her for not so good money, when it was said to her, "Well, you either take it, that's it, or there's nothing till next year." And the point I was trying to get with, that's just morally wrong on all levels. And if we're people to hear that people, fighters, bullied, and Natasha Jonas being a mum and a single mum coming up to Christmas, she took lesser money to challenge for a world title, but then to be told we either take it or leave it, that's just wrong. And I just, wrong's wrong, Danny, and right's right. And like I said to you, like I said in the interview, I got on well with Eddie Hearn, I got on well with Adam Smith. But sometimes when something doesn't go the way that they like it, and I go, hang on, then I'm the arsehole or anything else. So like I said to you, there's a couple of things that I said wrong, that I have said that most of it wasn't the right wording for it because we're not media trained. But I just wasn't, I felt them 6-7 pressure cookers that are bubbling in the gymnasium has affected me. And because I see the frustrations, I see the talent, I see how good they are. I see Liam Smith come in the gym, sparring with everybody, spars this, spars that. One of the best pound for pound fighters in the UK, doesn't get the credit and doesn't have a date. Natasha Jonas put so much into a fight camp, didn't get the decision. Callum Johnson's not fought for over nearly 600 days and has been proffered a Joe Smith, a Bivol fight, and never materialised. So I seem to have really then let it all out to the fact, well, listen, this is what they're all saying to me, and let it out. Whether it was the right thing or the wrong thing, I don't know. Natasha Jonas is quite vocal. Callum Johnson is on social media. And it's down for them, the fighters, to be a little bit now as well. Because when you sit back and you look at the bigger picture, if you're Derek Chisora or a Dylan White or an Anthony Joshua, then Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, they all dance to their tune. If you start shouting and everything else, so maybe the fighters have got to get up and say something, because yeah, that was it. So, like you say, it was a bit of emotional, but it was only an overspill of what's going on in the gym at the moment. I've got so much serious talent when you've got, look at Liam Smith ranked #1 in the country, Callum Smith #1 in the country, Callum Johnson #1 in the country, Paul Butler #1 in the country, 4 #1s in the country in the weight divisions, and none of them got a Sky date. Natasha Jonas just fought for a title. Then on the back of that, you got Sam Hyde, Marcus Morrison, Stephen Smith. So, like you said, there's a Jose Burton's just fought. But what I'm saying is there's just that collection of proper fighters that aren't protected in a way. They will go and fight anyone and everyone. Tasha did, Liam Smith did, Canelo, Paul Butler did with Rodriguez and Tete, Callum Johnson, BTBF, Shawnee Monaghan, Stephen Smith, Pedraza, Sosa. They're not ones for mollycoddling. They will fight and can fight. And it's just seeing them like, wow, it'd be different if they were being spoke about. But nothing's been spoke about. And what I touched on the interview there is I know Adam isn't the head of boxing now. It said Robinson, and Eddie Hearn is sort of like moving, and Frank Smith's taken over that role at Matchroom. But it's when you don't hear them talk about Liam Smith or Callum Johnson, it's like, why not? They're two good fighters, and you sort of like wheeled Liam out for Kell Brook, and now you're talking about Callum Johnson for Boatse, but give Callum Johnson a fight and give Liam Smith a fight. But we'll see what happens over the next couple of weeks. I'm sure I spoke to Liam Smith, not spoke to Eddie yet. I think he's on holiday. But Eddie will have his version of events, and that'll be it. But it's up to them to prove me wrong and show that they are good fighters, they are wanted. And Callum Johnson wants to fight BTF, but that's all he's ever said since he's fought them. And go and deliver it him, or go and deliver him a fight and right pay. And I don't want to go over all ground, but everyone's seen the interview anyway. But I apologise to anyone that offended. It wasn't meant to be a racial term. I think the wording what I was looking for was equality. So anyone at Sky or Matchroom was offended on that slur, I apologise. It was more on the equality of pay. And when I got told Natasha Jonas was told, that's it or nothing till next year, I just couldn't bottle that in no more.
Do you feel it's part of your responsibility as a trainer and for some fighters a manager to take some of that pressure off their shoulders, and kind of the frustration grows in you because you don't want it to grow in them?
I think so, but I don't necessarily. I just think it's from a coach's point of view. I see this amount of wealth of talent in the gymnasium, training all the time, making sacrifices. Some of them, Callum Johnson's been boxing now for 20, 25 years, Liam Smith for 20 years, 21 years. They've proved their worth, they've fought at the highest stage, and they've got to the point now where this is supposed to be the career-defining nights, the career-defining earning money, setting people up for life. And you see them in the gym and you see the frustration. And when you see Liam saying, if I don't fight this year, I'm going to retire, Callum Johnson quite similar, you go, wow, there's another world title in you, Liam, there's a world title in you, Callum Johnson, one of you, Paul Butler, one of you, Natasha Jonas. You just think, wow, that's got a waste. And I understand there's a pandemic, but when you sit back at home and everyone walks into the gym and goes, bloody hell, see that, Dylan White got a rematch straight away and I can't get a date. But and you constantly hear that from 7, 8, 10 of them, and it's not that. What surprised me, Danny, about the interview, I never meant to, Andy caught me on a finger, the amount of response and emails and text messages and DMs that I've had from fighters, trainers, managers, promoters, not just in this country, but in Europe and everything else, saying what for saying it. I'm not trying to be some type of thinger, but I was just absolutely shocked with the response I had back in support of what I had said. And I didn't set out to say anything like that. As I said, it was just a heat of the moment thing, and I didn't mean to upset or offend. I just wanted to understand why they weren't getting the fight dates, why Natasha didn't get a rematch, why she isn't on a show before Christmas, why is poor Callum Johnson not getting a fight? Eddie told me he'll be out on the 14th or the 28th. Still not heard nothing back from him. Do you understand? Liam Smith, you know what I mean? It's like I say, it's me as a trainer just seeing the quality in these lads and the talent, And it's just like, wow, no one's seen the best of these, and especially Liam and Callum Johnson. These could be world champions and could put bums on seats. And I'll talk about Callum Johnson. He's a very popular figure where he comes from, his part of the world. He's had a road named after him. And like I said to Adam Smith, it wouldn't have hurt a camera gone down there as a part of a Sky thingy to say there's not many fighters. I'm sure if Josh Boatse, Anthony Joshua, had a road or an avenue named after him in London, it would have featured on Sky. So I'm not asking for anything different from anyone else. It's just like, well, they're little stories in a lockdown that would have, well, should we have done something? Do you know what I mean? So, and I think the point about me saying about a north-south divide, I wouldn't make it out as a north-south divide. What I was just saying to us is fighters that were in the book up north, Ricky Burns, Kell Brook, everything else, them eras are ending. They could still most probably come to, but it's a pandemic and production costs. I know all that, but let's not forget about. Do you understand it? I think the thing that is sticking in everyone's throat a little bit is the Dylan White rematch with Povetkin when he got knocked out, and yet Natasha Jonas Terry Harper rematch didn't happen. That's like, what, you can make that rematch, but you couldn't make that rematch. So I think that's what's sticking, and what by the response that I've got back from that interview. Yeah, so like I say, what's done's done. It's yesterday's news, and got to move forward. And I'm sure there'll be another 99 times when Eddie Hearn's happy with me because everything it agrees with him. Do you understand? Or Frank Smith and the one time, but it's just questions to be asked, really. That was all. And as a coaching point of view, I see this wealth of talent. I just think, wow, the British boxing public aren't getting to see fight. Callum Johnson's such a talented fighter that we haven't seen the best. Callum Smith, obviously, we're waiting on what happens with the WBC, Yildirim Canelo. Liam, do you know what I mean? They're just so talented, and it just pains me and upsets me to see so much talent going to waste and they're not fighting in the prime.
Well, is it that as well? The age and the prime, the stage they're at in their career makes it all the more frustrating, especially with Callum Johnson and Liam Smith. They're not fighters who are in the first flush of youth who can afford to take 6 months or a year off the sport, are they?
No, not at all. And like you said, there's young guns coming through all the time. You see the next generation. You're seeing Teofimo Lopez. And like you say, you've got Shakur Stevenson's coming through. You've got a lot of young fighters coming through now. And what you want is fair play to Kell Brook now. He's gone, and some say it's his swan song, but he's going fighting against Terence Crawford. And Liam Smith wants them big fights. We thought it was Brook. It's not. I think Liam said he'd fight a Eubank or a Triple G, and Callum Johnson said he'd even come down to 168 and fight a Ryder, a Billy Joe. And they're saying they'll move up and down weights to get the fights and the opportunities. They just want to fight. Liam Smith's always in the gym. He's sparring. He comes in, does 8 rounds, 10 rounds, drop a hat. And so is Callum Johnson, who's worked and trained, and everyone can see if they follow his social media profile, so intensely and so dedicated over a lockdown, and not to be rewarded with a fight date of some sorts. When you look around the division and you see Josh Boatse have a fight, you see Anthony Yard have a fight, you see other fighters in the division have fights. Liam Williams, he fought Robinson. Obviously, he can't get a world title fight, so he deals with domestic opposition. Yeah. And that's what I said with Liam Smith. Well, let him fight Ted Cheeseman then. Do you understand? It's highly ranked in the IBF. So it's all in that interview. We've just got to move on now, and hopefully what I said gets done. If it doesn't, well, what more can I want to say? I'm only pushing the best that I can. It's up to Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, and for them to put the fighters on Sky. Obviously, they give the contract to Eddie, and it's up to Eddie to produce them with it. It's out of their hands, really. It's down to Matchroom, really.
And you said you caught up with Adam Smith earlier this week. Did he offer any kind of words of encouragement? Did he kind of tell you anything that made you feel a bit more positive about the situation?
Yeah, I think Adam Smith, takes an awful lot of stick at him. But I remember him first starting out. I had John Murray over in Tampa Bay, Miami, I think it was, Florida, when he fought over there against Walker. I remember Adam Smith learning his notes over there. I think it was the Jeff Lacey, Robin Reed bill. So I've seen Adam Smith come through starting off and be made to jump through ropes with his boss at the time, and him through the top. And he has been very supportive of boxing. He has tried to do people through programs on Sky, like Savannah Marshall. He's obviously been big support of the Smith brothers in Liverpool and other people, and he's tried his best and everything else. At times, as part of the Ricky Hatton, and he made a good point that if Sky weren't involved in boxing at the moment, what boxing would they? Through all the tough times and the bad times the last 20 years, Sky has been the provider that's gone through it all the way through. When BBC, Channel ITV dropped boxing, Santana went away, and other networks, you know what I mean? And now Sky have been through it all the way, and he made a good point, he did. And like you say, but the fact that years ago they used to give Frank Warren's son Hennessy one, Frank Maloney's son, not Hennessy, Frank Maloney, whoever else. Remember at the time, Hatton Promotions, there was 4 or 5 of them, wasn't there? But now they've just give it all to Eddie Hearn now, which has created a monopoly, and what they say goes, really. So, but like you say, Adam is, he was saying how he wants Natasha on the bills, he wants Callum Johnson, he wants Liam Smith, and he was going to have a chat with Eddie Hearn, but Adam's passionate, he's a fan, and like I say, he frustrates him, he wants the big fights, and I understand him saying about the Teofimo Lopez and the Lomachenko, and they'd only get 20,000 viewers, yet Sky can go out and get a cooking show or something else and bring in more viewers of an afternoon. It's fiercely competitive at the moment in all types of sport, whether it be us as boxers, them as TV, and they've got to try and keep boxing relevant in Sky as well at the moment. Do you know what I mean? So, it's tough times. But like you say, he did say he wanted the fighters. There was no biasm, and he will be asking Eddie Hearn why Callum Johnson, Liam Smith, Natasha, why aren't they on it?
One thing that did kind of raise my eyebrows when watching that interview was that you said about Eddie Hearn's comment about Joe Gallagher being Joe Gallagher. And it just made me think, do you feel you get a bad rap sometimes? I was speaking to a young pro yesterday, who I'll leave nameless to protect their identity at least. But I said, you'd want someone like Joe Gallagher as your manager because he's all for his fighters and he'll push your case. But do you think you get a bad rap from promoters and TV people and that kind of thing because you're so passionate in favour of your guys?
Yeah, I do. I think also as well, it's very easy in boxing for people to go, oh, Joe Gallagher is this and that, and oh, he's a nose and all that. But I'm a nose for the one time. 99 times it went your way, and I'll take a little bit more, but sometimes I just think, especially this is where it comes to Natasha Jonas and Callum Johnson. It's like, nah, that's enough. In the interview, I said, all right, and you go and offer Anthony Joshua that deal for Josh Buatsa and see if he accept it. They won't. So then they try and treat you like you don't know nothing about it. But I've been involved in sports since I was age 10. I've been involved in the professional side since I was age 23, 24, 25. So it's just the content sometimes, which annoys me. It's like, well, very much, if Dylan White and Anthony Joshua tell you that's that money for them fighters, you jump. But then other people, you go, no, that's not right. You're just doing this and doing that. And I just think that's wrong. And I think in business, everyone can have a healthy relationship and things can get on. And sometimes, like you say, Eddie Hearn's been good for the stable in the past and everything else. But there's times he knows himself, hand on heart, the offer he made for Callum Johnson in a 3-fight deal, there's no way in the world Anthony Joshua would take it for Josh Buatsa, so why should I take any less money? I'm sure Steffi Bull wouldn't take the offer for Terry Harper that he offered for Natasha Jonas. So that's it. Whether it's, I don't know. I can't understand it, but I do think, knowing Eddie over a period of time, that it's a healthy enough relationship that he is man enough to go, Joe, yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. Here's a more improved offer. Yeah, Callum Johnson. Yeah, I tried my arm with it, and you're right. I don't feel we all should have to be heavyweights and feel to be threatened by us to be able to deliver us a decent offer. I just think it's just good business. It's not like I offer stupid money or ask for ridiculous money. I always ask for fair money, and it's very easy as well for journalists to agree with Eddie and buy by Eddie and listen to Eddie because they don't want to lose the ringside pass or the ticket for fight night. and that's how it is. That's how it goes. You know that, Danny.
No, I do. Does it extend, do you think, to Callum Smith? Because a lot of people say this. He should be a bigger star than he is. Now, some people would say he's not a big talker. He's not someone who calls people out. Maybe that's part of it. But has there been a lack of kind of people getting behind him to give him that bigger profile as well?
Well, you say that, but I don't say Usyk, Lomachenko, Triple G, Canelo, and Inoue. I've never seen any of them fight, flip tables or trash talk anyone. Yeah, they're the best pound for pound in the world. I don't feel that you have to be like that to be the best in the world. I think that's what they'd like you to be, but that's not Callum. Callum's performances and his punches talk for themselves. Callum's got a huge knockout reel that they could put together. We've seen what Sky did with a half-empty arena with Tony Bellew cleverly and built him up in Tony Bellew to being a pay-per-view star. So Sky, when they put their mind to it, and Eddie put their mind to it, Callum Smith went to the World Boxing Super Series with the Southerlands and came out a world champion and the ring #1 and went, there you go, Eddie, and there you go, Sky Sports. You've got a ready-made #1 pound for pound fighter there. All you've got to do is just go and promote him now. So, I'm not sure that that's down to it. What's going on? There's Callum's chasing the big fights. Would I say, could they push them up? Yeah, I definitely think so. I think so. If it was, like you say, whether that's down to Sky or whether that's down to Matchroom or Eddie Hearn or Frank Smith. And it's not just me saying it now. I'm not silly. I think you asking them questions, me seeing it on social media, it's like it's getting a bit plain obvious. People say, "Oh, you say Callum should need to talk," but how Callum Smith's story, being the youngest of 4 brothers, the 4 most successful British boxing brothers there's ever been in Britain, how is that not a story that Callum ever doing everything that he did, just missing out of the Olympics? Sky and Matchroom have made big stories out of fighters who achieved less, a quarter of Callum Smith. Callum Smith, on what he's achieved, is the most successful fighter coming out of Liverpool. So, and that's no disrespect to you, John Contes or anybody else, but he's the Ring Magazine champion. Now he just needs a few performances to back that up. How his name isn't first off the tongue in the way like back in the day a Carl Froch or a Ricky Burns or a Kell Brook or a Tony Bellew was, it never comes off the tongue, whether it's that you go on Sky and you'll see nothing on Callum Smith there. No presses, no interviews, nothing talked about. And they say, oh, he doesn't like to talk. Well, a lot of fighters, you just tried to make a big thing about Josh Boatts is the quietest man in boxing, but you try to make a big thing. So whatever. Anyways, all I know is as a coach and a manager for Callum Smith, I've done the best I've done. Callum Smith performed at Madison Square Garden with a fantastic performance, #1 in the world, put him in the World Boxing Super Series, became out a world champion when people said I'd ruined his career, and he came out as world #1. And it's down to everyone else now to have done their job. So, like you say, we'll see what happens now over the next period of time. But it is frustrating. But like you say, we're all in hard times at the moment. He's not the first either. You've got to look at Josh Warrington as well. There's a kid there now.
After the Canelo-Billy Joe Saunders fight fell through back in April or May, whenever it was it ever discussed from that point of Billy Joe fighting Callum? Was that ever on the cards?
Not I'm aware of. It was never really talked of. No, Callum, Billy Joe. I think I seen a couple of interviews at the time, and I just said to Callum, they've got to try and, most probably by the looks of it, talking about you, they've just got to try and do the fight cheap on your behalf. And Billy Joe, but that's a huge British domestic fight, and there's no way in the world that you two should fight for less money. Billy Joe's a 2-time world champion, 2 different weights. You're the world #1. That's a huge fight. I think I said something to him. If Chavez and Jacobs could fight for whether it was 2-4 million or 3-6 million each with no titles on the line, then what should you and Billy Joe be fighting for? And I just left it at that.
What do you make of Billy Joe now defending against Martin Murray? Because there's been a lot of criticism of that on social media, although on paper it doesn't look like a terrible match.
No, like you say, it depends how much Martin Murray's got left. It's a huge opportunity for Martin Murray. good fight. I've known both lads for years, both good fighters. When you look at it from a coaching point of view, stylistically wise, Martin Murray's got to bring the pressure. Billy Joe's going to do what Billy Joe can do. You think styles make fights, and I think Martin Murray's style could be easy for Billy Joe in that Billy Joe can just move one way, move the other way. Can Martin Murray close that ring down? Can he make it awkward to him? Can he drag him into a fight? And does Martin Murray have that engine and that desire late on his now to do that? Has Billy Joe thought, I'll take Martin Murray a bit over the hill, looking for a payday, and take him a little bit lightly? I wouldn't say so. I think both fighters, I know well enough that they both have got huge respect for each other. Martin Murray knows how good Billy Joe is. Billy Joe knows how good Martin Murray is. And it's a fascinating fighter. Billy Joe will have to be top of his game to beat Martin Murray. Anything less than Martin's top of his game, Martin could drag him into a right fight.
And something I did want to ask you before I let you go, Anthony Crolla, obviously much loved fighter, now retired. Is he in the gym with you full time now, helping out with fighters and stuff? What's the latest with him?
Yeah, Crolla, he's in the gym. He's in the gym with me, helping out the fighters. He's beginning to build up his own little stable as well, training alongside my lot, and which is good for him, seeing him develop as a coach and training and just being there for any questions. He thought he wanted to phone me the other day over something, and just being there and helping him and guiding him, and any fighters that want to come along, and like you say, try to push him towards Anthony and get him up and running. And because that's the hard part of boxing, when you finish and you retire, it's just being you were part of something, and now you're not part of something, and keeping Crolla in the gym, helping me. And as you've seen through the past few years, he's always in the corner with me. And he's got a fountain of knowledge on the big stage, and I think he'll make a very good coach. So he's learning, and it's good for him to be building up his own little stable of fighters.
We've seen a lot of young trainers now coming into the sport, which I guess is a good thing. You famously started off at the Phil Martin camp, legendary camp, legendary tutelage that you had there. Do you feel like a veteran of the trainer union now?
Nah, I wouldn't think so. Funny enough, I spoke to Ronnie Davis yesterday. I'd listened to his podcast, and I was just saying it was a good podcast, and we were just laughing. And he just said to me, "There's not many of us left now, Joe." I said, Ronnie, I'm not your old. But I understand what he says. And I think obviously you see Dominic Ingle there coming through with Brendan. Obviously I wouldn't say old school. There's lots of young trainers coming through. I think Shane there's been working alongside with his dad for his while, and Adam Boover. I wouldn't say we're veteran. I still think we've got plenty of time. But I understand what you're getting at. There's new trainers coming through, and there's new trainers, but it's just about understanding the sport, the ins and outs, and everything else. And I wouldn't say just young trainers. I'd say, going back to the beginning of the interview, there's young trainers, there's young people coming into VTV, there's young people coming into sport, into promoting, and sometimes they've got to realise you've only just come into the sport, you're talking to people who've been in the sport for a long time, and some respect has to be shown. You may know that side of it, but we know this side of it. So it's a bit of give and take, and I think that's what, by the feedback I've been getting, that's put a lot of people's backs up, that some people have been spoken to and spoken down to, and they've been in the business a long time. Yeah, there's people who have only been in the sport a few minutes, and just that lack of respect, really, I think, from certain people. And I think that a lot more has got to be shown. That there's a lot of good trainers, coaches in boxing that have been in it a long time. Like you say, there's a lot, obviously, that have moved on, but there's some very good young coaches as well.
Great stuff. Joe, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. Hopefully the next time will be face to face, if the world problems pan out eventually in a good way. But who knows when that's going to be. But no, real pleasure, and best of luck with everything. I hope when Eddie's back from his vacation in the sun, he comes back with a positive mindset and wants to get your fighters out there.
Yeah, hopefully Adam Smith has a word, and like I said, they're out there between now and Christmas, and it's a tough time for everyone. And I know Eddie Hearn's inundated with so many fighters that he's took on, whether it be in America and the UK, and promising people. But people like Callum Johnson who've saved a couple of shows, that fight in Chicago in BTBF saved that show. I think even a couple of times, Liam Smith has been very good. Do you know what I mean? A good fighter. It's like, this is their time now. Give them their time now. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's it.
All right, great stuff.
Cheers,
Joe.
thanks,
I'll
mate.
let you get back to your film.
Cheers, thanks, mate. Thank you, mate. Cheers.
Speak
Bye-bye.